probably should have Jeff come up to the table.
Yeah.
Jeff, why don't you come up to the table?
All right.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you push back.
Actually.
Yeah, that's good right there, probably. I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if we're talking to you, it won't look like we're talking to the wall.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this special meeting of Vesuvius Town Council to order. It's Monday, January 23rd, 2012, and it's 3:30 p.m. And first thing on the agenda is the introduction of lead items. Are there any? Seeing none, we'll move down the agenda. Any business arising from prior minutes? Seeing none of those. No delegations today. Any correspondence that we need to deal with today?
This piece of correspondence came in related to the subject matter on the agenda, so it should be noted that it'll be added to the correspondence list.
Okay, would you like a resolution for that, Mr. Romanko?
Yes, please.
Okay, Council.
I would move that we add this letter from Mr. Mullenkamp to the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Ryan. Second?
Yes. I second the motion.
Councilor McCordoff, all in favor? That motion would be carried. Moving down the agenda, we have no bylaws today. And we'll move right into our business section, and I'll ask CAO, Mr. Romanko, to introduce a report on some lighting on Highway 3 and Cottonwood, and some work to be done on 62nd Avenue and Highway 97.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Just before I head into my report, I would like to start by just introducing Jeff Wiseman from Transportation. He's here as a resource to this particular topic today. For the past several years, Council has been in discussion with the Department of Transportation on several highway improvement projects within the town boundaries. Two of these are the placement of traffic control lights at the intersection of Cottonwood Drive and Highway 3. The second one is intersection improvements at the intersection of Highway 97 and 62nd Avenue. The Cottonwood Drive Highway 3 was proposed to assist with traffic flow to enable side streets to enter Highway 3 during high volume summer periods, specifically at Cottonwood Drive and Lakeshore Drive. The second project being the intersection improvements at Highway 97 and 62nd Avenue was proposed to improve pedestrian crossing safety and assist with traffic flow by providing a right-hand turning lane for traffic traveling south and making a right-hand turn onto 62nd Avenue. The Department of Transportation is now prepared to complete the two projects, with the traffic control project at Cottonwood and Highway 3 to go to tender next week, and the 62nd Avenue project to be constructed between March 5th and March 31st. And the Cottonwood and Highway 3 project is 50% cost-shared project, and the transportation will pay the construction cost of 62nd Avenue, with the town's contribution being the engineering fees. Proposed plans at the Cottonwood Highway 3 don't have a designated left-hand turning lane. Therefore, the administration is seeking Council's approval of the design and also pre-budget approval of the town's financial contribution. Providing a left-hand turning lane would add significant cost to the project and is beyond the scope of community need based on the industry standards. So, in terms of budget, the budget has for the Cottonwood Drive project has been identified by Transportation at $150,000 plus or minus for approximately $165,000 plus HST, and so that's and the second project. Actually, let me back up here. We would be funding this project with $41,250 in road development cost charge funds and $123,750 in reserves. The reason why we're only able to use $41,250 from the DCC funds is in fact due to that our DCC bylaw has this project as a 25% apportioned for the new construction. So our options are to approve the designs for Cottonwood Highway 3 project and make a pre-budget approval of $165,000 plus HST. The second option is to resolve that the designs provided by Transportation for Cottonwood Drive and Highway 3 don't meet our needs of our community and request specific identified changes to meet community needs. And the third is to request additional information and defer the decision and budget allocation to a later date. The administration is recommending option 1. Although the design presented doesn't have the designated left-hand turn lane at as the project doesn't have it as designed, it's recommended based on industry standards to meet the community's needs for the foreseeable future. So I'll leave that to council at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Romenko. I think I'd just like to go back to the budget part of it. The 62nd Avenue project engineering fees are approximately $10,000 for that as well, and have been paid already. Is that correct? Is that what that statement is?
That's right. That was part of our 2011 operational costs, and that's our contribution to the project.
Okay. I think we'll just take a little bit of a pause here and let Mr. Plant get seated in his chair.
Sorry, folks. Sorry, tonight. Duties of childcare.
Mike, you'll need to turn on your mic. We're on Granicus. We're live on podcasting.
So, Councillor Rhodes, can I ask, or did you want to wait for just a question?
Okay. Yes, Councillor McCordock, go ahead.
So, back to the budget. If I understand this properly, the entire budget would be $165,000. Our share would be $41,250. Is that correct?
No, our portion of the project. Sorry, our portion of the project is $165,000.
Okay.
The entire project cost is twice of that.
All part.
And we've divided our sources of funds into two separate areas, one being development cost charges and the other one being reserves.
Thank you.
Just for clarity's sake, I'd like to ask, is this 50% of the project that we're paying for, or is this the total cost of it? These are our portion of it.
This is our portion. We're paying 50%.
Yeah, so you would multiply that by 2
Yes,
to get the full project cost.
The total cost of the project is
330.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, accompanied to this report are several pages of complex drawings and design layouts and that kind of thing. We have Jeff from the highways here. I'd like to ask, is there any questions you'd like to ask for clarity on any of the things? This is the best opportunity to do that. If there are no questions, we could move right into the resolution mode and look for a motion at this time. You know, we do have the expert here, and if you'd like to ask questions, okay. Councillor McCordock.
I just would like to have Mr. Wiseman explain a little bit. I find that the maps are not terribly easy to understand, and I'm wondering if you could just say a few words about what we're looking at.
Certainly. My apologies for that. Sorry.
feeling, but
It's a little button. It should be a little button.
No, I think you're on now. I think you just got talking now.
am I on?
Yeah.
I was sorry that the scale of those drawings was a little on the small side, but really what the purpose of those drawings is to show the different turning movements that can be made with the existing configuration of the intersection there. When I refer to existing configuration, I mean without any additional lane construction, such as a left turn slot or a right turn slot. So what you're seeing on those drawings is it's showing the ability for vehicles to make right-ins to the side streets from the highway at all the different directions. It shows right turn movements out from the side streets onto the highway, and it also shows left turn movements in and out of the highway and side streets at that intersection. So really, and what it has is it has the turning template for I think it's called a WB21, which is a standard semi-trailer type unit, a delivery type unit. So that's the template it's showing, sort of the tracking movement of that sort of a vehicle, and it shows how it's able to do that within the geometry of the existing intersection.
Okay, Councillor Plant.
Yes, thank you. My question has to do with functionality of the actual light itself. Now, has that been discussed at all? Is this part of that? Is that the next, or is that part of the whole budget itself? And what I'm asking is about the flow of what these lights will provide. Very much like Main Street, where you have a turning light that allows you to go left, use the turning light initially first. Just kind of want to know about the flow of how that light's going to operate.
Sure. This is a fairly, the operation of this signal is fairly simple in that there is no dedicated left turn signal from the highway onto the side streets. What I mean by that is there's no arrow that stops oncoming highway traffic to allow for left turn movements into Cottonwood. It'll simply be on the highway. There will be a green light, and you would, if you want to make a left turn, there's opposing traffic coming, you wait until there's a gap, and then you make your left turn. So there's no dedicated left turn that will stop the oncoming traffic. And the reason for that is a couple-fold. We don't introduce that into intersections unless it's required, and what I mean by required is there's sufficient demand for it. So the left turn movements from the highway onto 62nd is a low demand, plus there's lots of opportunity. There's sufficient gaps in the highway traffic to allow that movement to occur. It's where you get high left turn demand coupled and or high highway demand that doesn't allow for that gaps and the ability to make that movement to clear all that left turn traffic, where you would have a dedicated left turn signal. So really what you're going to have is simply a green time and red time on the highway and green time and red time on the side streets. No other fancy operation. The signals will be hooked up to loops. So that's the detectors. In particular, this is down for the side streets. So when a vehicle pulls up to on 62nd to the intersection with Highway 97, it will get over top of a loop which will sense a vehicle is sitting there, and that will trigger the lights to go through the cycle. So otherwise, it'll be giving green time on the highway. It'll always just be green time until there's a demand from the side street to trigger the signals to go into a cycle, which would turn, of course, the highway's red and the side streets green for them to make a left turn or right turn or through movement.
Yeah, because I think that, that sounds great, because that was the only concern I had was about flow sometimes in the summer. If we have a person turning left onto Cottonwood heading north, that we don't have a backup from the highway, and I know that's why we're kind of created that right lane to keep flow continuing. Slip by.
Yeah. For this particular intersection, when you look at the traffic counts and what we call the warrants for a signal, all intersections don't automatically warrant a signal, so there has to be some sort of demand for it, or a traffic movement that's failing, we'll call it. The highway on the traffic, the traffic on the highway, I'm sorry, there's no failing movement there for a left turn onto 62nd. It's not a high demand movement, and it's not one that's when somebody does make that movement that they have to wait an inordinate amount of time. What triggered the need for this signal was the side street traffic wanting to get onto the highway during the summer, during the peak periods in the summer when you've got bumper-to-bumper traffic on Highway 97. Somebody's on one of the legs of 60,
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry, we're confusing
Cottonwood,
our,
right,
yeah,
it's
Cottonwood and
Cottonwood
Highway 3, right.
parking,
Yep.
on Cottonwood, trying to get onto the highway, and there's no gaps in the traffic. So
Yeah.
what this signal is, it creates an artificial gap then, so the Cottonwood traffic can enter onto the highway.
Okay, so just a reminder that we do have two separate and unique projects here. If we're asking questions,
Yeah.
maybe let's just identify which one we're talking about so we
And
can
my,
keep
my
that.
apologies if I crossed over
Oh,
the two, because I've been working on them both.
Yeah, no apologies necessary. Just when you're asking questions, just if we could specify which one. So, Councillor Ryan and then Councillor McCordoff.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Yes, Jeff, if you could, my question is about the timing of the change of light if you are coming from Cottonwood onto Highway 3, in either direction, either going, making your turn from the north or from the south. How long would you be waiting approximately? And also the duration then of that light change. How long would it be stopped for Highway 3?
Yeah. Councillor Ryan, I don't have those times in front of me. I don't know if they've been developed yet by our electrical folks. They do up what's called a timing sheet for our signals, and each signal has its own timing sheet. So they would have, as an example, for the traffic coming Cottonwood to the intersection, as soon as you went over those loops, it wouldn't automatically signal the lights to go through their cycle to go red on the highway. There's an allowance there where if a vehicle pulls up on Cottonwood, there's a bit of delay, like it's expected the side street traffic will wait because the highway is given priority. It would probably be in the order of probably no more than, I'm thinking, 10 seconds, where a vehicle would have to sit there and wait for the highway to go through its cycle. Mm-hmm. Now, the amount of green time then that the Cottonwood signal would have for entering on the highway, again, is determined by our traffic engineers. It's based on the traffic counts and volumes that we can expect to be using that. And we have those count numbers. We've taken the counts there, pre-signals.
Yes.
So they'll set it up so it'll be, again, probably, I'm going to say 15, 20 seconds for that traffic to clear, because there might only be at any one given time 2 or 3 vehicles parked on Cottonwood wanting to enter on the highway at the same time. So it takes no more than 20 seconds for that to clear. And again, the priority is for green time on the highway because that's our highest volume movement. So then again, we'll go back. But I don't have, I can get those for us, but I'm just using some notional times right now.
Yeah.
Order of magnitude.
Yes, no, I appreciate that, and I've seen that in other situations. I guess I was asking it somewhat in reaction to the letter that we received that's talking about vehicles waiting on the highway with their engines running, and the kind of pollution, air pollution that might cause to neighboring homes, especially the one on the southwest corner. But and is there some flexibility in that? I mean, can it be adjusted for certain times of day or certain days of week?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. The controllers for the signals are actually very complex. We just installed one in Peachland, and I happened to be there for the opening ceremony, and the cabinet was open, and the electrician was there. There's a whole raft of computer equipment inside one of these, just for a simple 3-legged intersection like at the one that was open at Peachland. So to answer your question, they certainly have the ability to do all kinds of wonderful things: time of day, day of week, even month of, seasonal, and make seasonal adjustments for that matter. So there's all kinds of things we can play with. Our electrical folks can program in for the timing. So it might be perhaps once the signal's installed and we get a feel for how traffic's adjusting to it, we can tweak it. And I certainly would run your feedback on that, because you folks live here, you see it every day, you get feedback from your citizens. And if they say, hey, it's not triggering fast enough, it's not too often, whatever the case may be, appreciate that feedback, and we can adjust the signal from there. They're amazing, the signals today, what they can do.
Good, thank you.
I'd like to maybe mention at this point that one of our other problematic intersections is Lakeshore and Highway 3, right there, particularly during our summer months. These lights at Cottonwood and Highway 3 will provide a break in traffic to allow access, both left and right-hand turning off of Lakeshore as well. So that's a pretty good thing about these lights as well. I'm not sure what the break times will be, but I know for certain times of the year during the summer, we don't have any break times, so if there's a 3 or 4 second break in there, perfect. If it's longer, even better.
Yeah, it's Council Roads, it's not only good for the vehicular traffic, but also pedestrian traffic. It provides some breaks, we get gaps so that the pedestrians can cross safely at intersections as well.
Councillor McCordoff.
Okay, I think you've answered one of my questions. Thank you. About the timing on it. Will there be a crosswalk put in there? That's part of it.
Yeah.
And the other question is, the one at Highway 97 and 62nd, is it basically the same type of system as you're putting at Cottonwood and Highway 3? Are those they're similar? In other words, they could both be adjusted as needed, and because they're going on their highways on both sides.
Councilor McCordoff, they're actually quite different systems. The installation at Cottonwood and Highway 3 is a traffic signal, and the installation at Highway 97 and 62nd is only a pedestrian activated flashing amber light. It's not a traffic signal. It's a side mounted pedestrian activated flashing amber light at 62nd and Highway 97.
So it has nothing to do with the car traffic then on that one?
Well, it's intended, of course, to stop the Highway 97 traffic.
Yes.
At least, with the flashing amber side mounted to identify when there's pedestrians wanting to use the crosswalk.
Okay.
But it's certainly it's not a traffic signal. It's just I guess similar to what you would see on Highway 3 here in downtown Osoyoos at 87th.
Yes.
We have the flashing overhead amber.
Right.
Well, it's one same principle. Those are pedestrian activated, but the ones we're installing at 62nd and Highway 97 are what do you call side mounted. So they're not overhead on a davit on the signs up above, but they're side mounted on davits at just above, I think like above eye level on the sides of the road. So side mounted.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Just one other question, Jeff. Is it, I'm trying to recall from earlier discussions with Ministry of Transportation, and as I recall, we were going to just have either a flashing yellow or a green light on the off-season, like during the year, or would it be lighted at all?
With a traffic signal, it's either on or off. Mm-hmm. There is no off-season for a signal. It wouldn't operate simply during tourist season and then not during the remainder of the season because of driver expectations. Mm-hmm. The locals, as driving by on a particular day is likely to be on or off today. They have to. All our signals remain on, regardless. The ones you sometimes see flashing are what's the highest level of pedestrian activated signalization is actually a pedestrian activated traffic signal. For those that travel, maybe I'm just trying to think of the nearest one I can think of is there's one in Trout Creek in Summerland, where it's a traffic signal, but it's a pedestrian activated signal that the pedestrians set the light on to red on the highway, but the rest of the time when it's not being used by pedestrians, it just flashes green. Mm-hmm. That's the closest thing I can think of what you're asking about, but there's no such thing as a seasonal signal that just operates during the summer season. Maybe just getting back to one of the concerns you had that was addressed by one of your constituents about traffic being delayed on the highway and the pollution. I think it's probably good to remember that the signals for the side street traffic, so for Cottonwood traffic, would only be necessary to be activated for either a through movement or a left turn movement. If somebody's simply turning right from Cottonwood onto the highway, you wouldn't trigger the signal. So if you think about what is the primary movement there from Cottonwood, probably a through movement is not a very high count item, and even a left, particularly from I'll call it from the east side. Most people are heading back into town; they're not heading back down towards Rock Creek Way.
That's true. Yeah.
So the signals they're primarily for left to accommodate the lefts and throughs, and that is a relatively low movement. So there shouldn't be really a lot of need for those signals to be activated, hopefully, on the highway. Of course, our goal is always get the highway traffic. That's our primary focus. So we don't see this as being too much of a detriment to the highway traffic because we don't see it, the use being all that high for the left turn movements and the throughs. Now, we did analyze, just to finish, for the left turn movements, our traffic engineer projected 20% growth, highway traffic growth, and he didn't see a need for us to consider a left turn slots, dedicated left turn slots, for about at least 10 years out. So based on a 20% traffic volume increase, that's when we start looking at maybe the need for a left turn slot.
Okay, thanks. I wanted to ask just a couple of quick questions. Will this go to tender? If it does, when can we expect construction to begin on it? And if and when it does happen, will it be traffic delays or shutdowns or anything during the construction phase? And I'm kind of humming and hawing about the date, because to do it in July would be disastrous, but to do it in March it would be very, very favorable.
Yeah.
Wonder if you could just comment on that.
Sure. Well, actually, I want to thank you for this special meeting today, because I was kind of putting the pressure on Barry for a decision on this, because we'd like to. It's going to tender based on whatever we decide here today this week. So it'll go on BC bid. Generally, there's a 2-week period, advertising period. But the intent is for the construction to be completed by March 31st. So we won't be doing any work during the peak tourist season. Everything will be in place and operating long before the tourist season. It's kind of an ambitious schedule. We are counting on the weather. Hopefully this last little bit we had here last week, that's winter, and we're getting back into spring now. But there's some concrete work required there, and I think maybe a little bit of paving, I believe. But so we got to, we need asphalt plants to be open early, and quite often we can count on that. But this project is March 31st completion date is what we're shooting for.
Great. Just a quick reminder that we are trying to move towards a motion on this, so we'd be looking at a resolution fairly soon on it, I would think. So, Councillor McCordoff.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. The one question that I don't think you answered of Councillor Rhodes was how much shutdown of the highway do you anticipate in this job? Not that it may make as much difference in March as it does in July, but are there times that you're going to have it for an hour at a time or something? No?
There will be probably some disruption to traffic. Certainly not an hour at a time. Our self-imposed, when we do our own projects, we try and keep the maximum delay up to maximum 20-minute delays. Even with that, though, I think with the volumes we're looking at right now this time of year, we should be able to get away with single lane alternating traffic there. And really the only reason we would have need to affect the traffic is for the loop installation. When the loops, that's the wires in the pavement.
Sure.
For the pavement marking, with thermoplastic marking down there, the stop bars, the zebra the crosswalks, the parallel crosswalks. Also the island construction. There's 4 islands to be constructed there, so to place the concrete, there may be a need when the concrete trucks are there and the curbing folks to shut down one lane on the highway so they can do their work around there. But again, it would be single lane alternating traffic and maximum 20-minute delays, and I'd be awfully surprised if we even came close to 20-minute delays.
That's the 62nd and Highway 97 one that you're putting in the traffic out. It's not in the other one.
Not
in the Cottonwood?
Cottonwood too.
Oh.
Yeah, they're both.
I don't see that.
Most all the work is off, what we call offline. It can be done without affecting the through lanes for the most part. So minor delays is what we would call that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ryan.
If you're ready for the question, I'm prepared to make a motion. So I would move that we approve the designs for Cottonwood Highway 3 Traffic Control Project and also make a pre-budget approval of the $165,000 plus HST that we anticipate may be required.
Okay, and is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Plant. Yes. Any discussion towards that motion? I think at this time I'd like to, I'm kind of a stickler on making sure all of the information that's available to us is brought forward. I'd like to just take a couple of minutes and read this note from one of our residents, if that meets everybody's approval. Okay, so we have a note here from Mr. Art Mollenkamp, who is a resident right at the affected area on Cottonwood and Highway 3. And the content of his letter is to Honorable Mr. Stu Wells, members of council and CAO. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife Annie and I, Art G. Mollenkamp, occupy and own the residents directly affected by the placement of traffic controls at the above-mentioned intersection. Traffic moving east on Highway 3 while being stopped by a red light will be spewing carbon monoxide directly towards our vegetable garden, firstly, then towards 3 bedrooms situated at the north side of our home. For both of us, now in our 80s, this will be a significant health hazard. We therefore would appreciate it if council of our town of Osoyoos might consider assisting us financially with the construction of a fence along about 80 feet of sidewalk. This is presently fenced by wire and for above reasons will have to be closed by wood paneling. We ourselves would add a heavy gauge plastic on the inside of that fence. We both would appreciate your considering our request and remain yours truly, Art G. and Annie Mollenkamp, 6010 Cottonwood Drive. Okay, so I'd like to ask, is there any discussion towards this motion? Councillor Ryan.
Yes. Well, thank you for reading that letter. I think it was good to get that out. It seems to me, and I'll ask Mr. Wiseman if he could correct any assumptions that I make that are incorrect, that with really accommodating the traffic that is turning, primarily the traffic that is going to turn from Cottonwood onto Highway 3, there should be no more fumes from traffic than there has been in the past, and perhaps less. People will still be stopping for a while to make a left turn as they have in the past, but certainly, as he suggested, the right-hand traffic from Cottonwood, either northbound, making a turn from the south or from the north, can proceed, and the left-hand traffic will activate the signal. And given the times that you estimated, and particularly the flexibility that the controls have for being adjusted to various timing, it seems to me that there should be no more and probably less than has occurred in the past.
Are you prepared to comment on that? If you're not, if you don't feel comfortable with it, that's your right just to say no.
Well, it's more, I guess, speculative than anything, is that I guess a vehicle that's on Cottonwood currently wanting to make a left turn onto the highway in the summer during peak periods may have to wait an inordinate amount of time, which means they're sitting there idling, wherein with the signal installation, they should be waiting not as long, and of course we know to clear the intersection sooner, therefore not idling as long at that intersection. Conversely though, with the signals then turning red on the highway, you'll have a number of vehicles idling while these vehicles are making these side street movements, which would normally be idling at that location, so they would be adding additional gas, I guess you could say. Now whether it's a saw-off, whether the number of vehicles that are attempting to make a left turn or through movement on the side streets is equal to the amount on the highway, I guess that's yet to be seen. So I guess it's not something that we don't normally measure that effect. It's interesting. It's quite an interesting comment that the fellow has made, and worth probably further investigation. I know that we install fencing on our highways, on freeways, new freeway construction, and only on freeways. So you see this primarily in the Lower Mainland, where you see the big concrete panel fences, but those are for sound. They're not for gases. And I'm not too sure, I'm not an expert on gases, how they would travel, if a fence would be adequate, or does the gases travel over the fences depending on the prevailing winds and such like that. So it's kind of an area, it's kind of outside my area of expertise. Just a few comments that I can make on that.
Yeah, it was an interesting, we received this just prior to the meeting. It's kind of hard to be really objective about it. I think in my mind the worst case scenario is it won't be any worse than what it is now. I know there's no good level of it, but that when you have combustion engines running, you're going to have that byproduct. But I also see lots of opportunity to improve that situation at that intersection. Whereas if it stays the way it is now, it'll never get any better or worse. Certainly with that opportunity to flow through at the green light with the eastbound traffic right on Highway 3, that's going to move vehicles out of that intersection. Whereas now they have to stop or at least pause. Now there's that opportunity, and I don't know whether we need to look into this any further. I think we'd have to handle that in a different venue, but certainly it seems to me that we have lots of opportunity to improve that situation at this site. Councillor McCordoff.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Rhodes. It seems that that we feel somewhat better about the situation, and we realize that they're probably the Molenkamps are anticipating something worse than we originally, or we now see is happening. So my suggestion would be that they would like a personal visit. I'm not sure who takes that on, but if we were able to explain to them what the situation looks like, and that probably they don't need to worry about it as much as they originally thought, that might help. I'm not sure how we proceed with that, but I think we should contact them, or somebody should.
I think that's probably a good comment. I know it's somewhat pertinent to the decision-making process towards the motion that we have on the floor. I think that leaving the door open for the Molenkamps to kind of evaluate this on an ongoing basis and certainly approach us, either us personally as council or staff, or come as a delegation, as unreasonable as that sounds. If we leave that door open and those opportunities are there, I think we can cover their concerns. I don't think that moving ahead with this project should be a message to the Molenkamps that we don't care. I don't think I'm not seeing that here at all. And we're certainly open to further evaluation on it as on a need-to basis. It's pertinent, but I don't think it should stop the process at this point. And if we leave the door open for future discussion, I think that probably is going to be adequate. Any more discussion towards the motion? Are we ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried unanimously. Okay, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. I would like to move that we ask our CAO to convey some of the aspects of this to the Molenkamps in a letter, and with an indication, as you pointed out, that we're open to both them and ourselves evaluating what if any changes can be made, perhaps in the cycling of the light, or other things that might be necessary, that we would consider those in future with them.
Okay, and seconder for that motion, Councillor McCordoff. Any discussion towards that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Councillor Ryan.
If I may, while we have Mr. Wiseman here, I know we don't have to we're not going to decide on the 62nd and Highway 97, but I think I too, along with perhaps other councillors, might appreciate just having a little description of the lighting and the placement of those pedestrian alert signals. I was trying to study, but I'm not enough of an engineer or draftsman to appreciate all the little circles and lines and octagons and so on. So would you be able, Jeff, to give us a
you know
little?
what maybe I could do is I think I'm invited back here again. Barry, am I back here on the 6th?
Yes, you're back here on the 6th.
February the 6th?
I wonder if I could, at that time, maybe bring a full-size set of plans.
Oh, that would be...
Those little drawings that I sent you folks, I mean, I even have a tough time wrapping my poor eyeballs around those ones. So I'd love to bring a full-size set of plans, and I could run through it with you then.
I think that'd be wonderful.
Great, yeah, that'd be perfect.
And on the 6th, I guess I'm some jumping ahead here on you, but I'm coming on the 6th to make a presentation on the our crosswalk study for those councillors that were here. Previous council, you know, that we did some crosswalk counts, pedestrian counts, and our traffic engineer has subsequently done an analysis and come up with some recommendations, and I've asked Barry if he could make time for us to be here on the 6th to make our first presentation to you folks on what the results of that study are. So that's when I can also bring the plans for Highway 97 and 62nd for us to have a look at.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I look forward to that.
That'll be more of a working session, I'm thinking, that one there.
Yeah, good. So I think we'll move down the agenda. Is there any notice of motion? Seeing none, ask for an adjournment.
May I have just one more comment before we adjourn?
You sure can, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. I'd just like to say, with Jeff saying that he's coming again, going to talk to us, that I have been, personally, I've been very impressed by over the last 3 years at the work of the Ministry of Transportation and their responsiveness to us, the feedback that we get from them. It's been very gratifying, and I just want to personally express my thanks for you know, the sensitivity that you've shown about our issues and our concerns and those of our citizens, and I think this is another thing. You know, this has been talked about for quite a while, and you know, you guys have really got on it, and obviously we've got a solution almost at hand here. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, great comments. And I should, now that we're passing on some accolades, some very, very favorable words from the owners of the gelato in front of Watermark for accommodating some of their parking needs up front. I can't believe how fast you guys moved on that. It was like we asked for it, and suddenly there was some parking there. So I know they're very thankful, and thank you very much for being so responsive towards that.
You're welcome. Okay.
All right. So we need a motion for adjournment.
I thought we did.
I slipped in there and put in a final word before adjournment.
I will move
Councillor
that we need
McCordock.
that.
Second for that?
Yes.
Councillor Plant, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. We are adjourned.
Thank you. That was excellent. Oh, thank you.